Congratulations, Titans fans. Free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has decided to rejoin his former coaches Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly, but this time a little bit further north in Nashville, Tennessee to join the Titans. What a giant domino to fall here in the NFL in mid-July. I really think this changes things in a big way for the Tennessee Titans in a way that a mid-summer signing typically doesn't. And really the best way that I can contextualize how big of a signing that I think this is if you're a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are still the well-earned favorite for this division, by the way. But if you are the Jaguars or a fan of the Jags, the Titans just went from a team that you respect, that you expect to be a frisky annoyance, that maybe in week 14 you've kind of got the side of your eye, keeping an eye on the standings a little bit, but maybe not too worried that they could actually beat you out in this division, to now I think the Titans are a legitimate threat in the AFC for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So many of you know I do a deep dive series here on this channel, and we already revealed the Tennessee Titans as the number 23 team in my power rankings. And when we did that deep dive, I reviewed the team's strengths and weaknesses, and above all, the weaponry, the offensive weaponry for the Tennessee Titans was the most concerning issue for this team. And they ranked dead last in the NFL for weaponry. Not just dead last, though, like in a tier of their own in terms of like potentially incompetent receivers. But you put in DeAndre Hopkins here, and I'm going to talk about how good DeAndre Hopkins still is in just a minute. But I think the bigger thing that this does for this team is what it does for all of the other ensuing pieces. Treylon Burks goes from promising round one rookie, who this team was counting on to be their number one option, now goes from being their number two, not being the focal point of opposing defenses, not seeing number one corners, and maybe most importantly, not having that pressure of like, okay, the entire fate of this team's offense lies on Treylon Burks' shoulders. He can now be the number two. Your number two becomes your number three into his rightful spot in Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who can just do what he does well. He can run blocks. He can be a contested catch option when Ryan Tannehill gets in a pinch. But again, not someone that they have to count on and depend on getting open and winning on third down. Even more so, Kyle Phillips, who was a late round rookie who I like but hasn't been able to stay healthy, that this team was counting on to be their starting slot wide receiver and someone that can come out and be consistent on third downs throughout the course of the season. Well, now he's your number four. You don't have to count on that. What you get from him as a late round pick in year two is house money. He can go out there without the pressure of this team relying on Kyle Phillips, and he can show if he can stay healthy and how consistent he can be on third down. It elevates what you can expect from a guy like Chigo Okonkwo, who was really being looked at from me as one of the go-to options in this offense. He can now go back to just being that mismatch piece, someone they draw up plays for that's a handful to deal with, but not someone you have to count on again to go out and be a reliable option down in, down out. Now, of course, you're going to still want those players to take steps up and show continued and improved consistency, but you put in DeAndre Hopkins to this group, and it just slides everybody down, takes the pressure off a little bit, and it takes the pressure off of Ryan Tannehill as well, because you have a guy in DeAndre Hopkins that can be the guy that you can count on to draw up him as read number one, play in, play out on third down, go beat a corner. Even if you don't win on the route, Tannehill can trust you to put a well-placed ball up there. A 50-50 ball for DeAndre Hopkins is more of a 75-25 ball, because that is what he does, is he big bodies corners and is a dominant ball winner. And I still believe that he is that player. I get it. This is a what have you done for me lately league. And when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, he's had his complications over the last couple of years. But I've seen a lot of people kind of poo-pooing this signing, saying it's not a big deal, or even saying, why did the Titans do this? They're not in a position to win right now. Well, I couldn't disagree more. I think the Titans, before this signing, were being slept on as a team that nobody is going to want to play. You put DeAndre Hopkins in here, I really think they're going to be slept on now. But with DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, he might not be a top 5 wide receiver anymore. Maybe he's not quite as physically dominant as he was 3 years ago. But I can't say for sure that he isn't. I mean, when he's been on the field the last couple of years, he's still looked like that guy on film. On individual games, he's still produced like that. You go back to 2021, was playing at a dominant level, and unfortunately he got banged up. 2022, he was suspended for the first 6 games of the season, not injured. People tend to lose track of things like that, but he came back and got, 4 or 5 games with Kyler Murray, and they were right back in sync as legitimately one of the best quarterback-wide receiver duos in the entire NFL. And then Kyler Murray gets hurt, and they had incompetent quarterback play for the remainder of the season. And surprise, surprise, DeAndre Hopkins isn't dominating at the same level he's capable of. To me, I look at what he played like in the second half of last season, or maybe in the midpoint of last season. I still see a true number 1 wide receiver, dare I say an alpha wide receiver. Like I said, someone that can win to all 3 levels, be the focal point of your design passing game, and be someone that you can count on down in, down out, and elevate the rest of these guys in the ways I described. So to me, this is a massive signing for the Tennessee Titans. For those of you that have followed my deep dive series, as I mentioned, they ranked 32nd before this signing. Now I see them much more in a competent group. Sure, they have other questions. They have young talent that needs to prove themselves, like Burks, Okonkwo, and Phillips. But this raises this up to the 24th group of weapons in the NFL. It raises their pass game ranking overall from dead last, 32nd, to 28th. I think they're going to have way more answers there. And it raises their overall offense from 28th to 25th. And that passing game can be much more of a compliment to what should be a pretty good run game in Tennessee. So I really see this as a massive signing. And, like I said, some people are poo-pooing this as well because the Titans have become known for signing these aging veteran wide receivers. Randy Moss, Andre Johnson. They traded for Julio Jones. DeAndre Hopkins, in my mind, is playing at a much higher level than those guys. Randy Moss and Andre Johnson were cheap pickups at the back end of their career. No one was viewing that as a game-changing signing. Julio Jones was viewed that way, but when you go back and see why the Falcons got rid of him, they quite literally got rid of him at the perfect time. It's a player that had already had a bunch of lower body injuries. The Falcons, having him in-house, felt like he wasn't going to be able to stay healthy. And he wasn't able to stay healthy, and he slowed down for the Tennessee Titans. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think, has those injury concerns. So to compare him to those other signings, I think is pretty foolish. I really do think this is an awesome move for the Tennessee Titans, an underrated team. And we went through why this missing piece fills their biggest need. So it's an amazing signing for a team to make this move in mid-July. You just don't see these types of game-changing free agent signings that are so perfect here like 2 weeks before camp starts. And as far as their overall team ranking, they actually jump all the way up to my 19th ranked team in the NFL, which for those following my deep dive series, it is going to complicate some things considering that just happens to be the literal number of the team that we are about to reveal here tomorrow. So we're just going to continue with the series with where we're at, where we've been. But I do think a lot of you guys are going to want that update as far as where would they rank? Where should they rank? Well, there you go. There's your rankings from the offense, the passing game, and the team overall. That's a 4-position increase in my power rankings. That's a massive deal. It's also like a good future move, I think. When this team drafted Will Levis, I like Will Levis's upside. I really do. But he is one of those quarterbacks, I'm not even going to say that. He is a rookie, young quarterback. Like, you have to do the best you can to give him playmakers and not throw him out to the wolves in some crappy situation. Whether that's this year or next year, I fully expect it to be next year. This was a 2-year contract for DeAndre Hopkins. I already talked about how it's also going to help guys like Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips come into their own, and Chig Okonkwo, to the point that now Levis steps in next year. And this is potentially going to be a very fully competent, real group of weapons here for Will Levis. So it's not just a move for now, it's a move for the future as well in that big high upside quarterback that you just invested in. And then I just want to end this thing off. This doesn't just impact the Tennessee Titans. to me, this is really actually good news, I think, for everybody in the AFC other than the Jacksonville Jaguars. We mentioned how this impacts them, but to me, to miss out on DeAndre Hopkins hurts a little bit less if you're the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, who I never thought were really in the mix for them, even though Ravens fans really wanted that. Didn't really make sense to me, but yeah, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, Ravens, like, yeah, you don't get DeAndre Hopkins, but your biggest threat isn't getting him either. Like, to me, if I'm a Bills fan, my biggest fear is the Chiefs sign DeAndre Hopkins. You know, Bengals obviously didn't need DeAndre Hopkins, but you're sure as hell happy that he's not going to be there helping the Bills and the Chiefs, right? So, like, those are the big winners. And even to me, like, you know, as I'm born and raised Packers fan, like, man, if Detroit would have pulled the trigger on DeAndre Hopkins, or if you're a Vikings fan, a Bears fan, everybody in the NFC North as well is like breathing a sigh of relief. It's like, all right, Detroit didn't get that big missing piece on the outside. So, like, yes, it's great for the Titans. Maybe they surprise as a Super Bowl contender. I don't think that's the case. But for teams that were looking out for where DeAndre Hopkins was going to sign, I think the majority of the league is going to be very happy that he went to Tennessee, got his money, reunited with his coaches. He's going to be able to compete while also making money and having fun, which is ultimately what matters for these people. Some combination of those three things. And I'm happy for DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's going to enjoy his time in Nashville with this team, and they're going to be better than people really are currently projecting. But that's all we've got here today. Definitely check out my Titans deep dive and all of my deep dives if this is your first time seeing my videos here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of those deep dives. Drop a like for me if you could. We're out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the number 19/number 20 team in my power rankings now. Peace out. Thank you for watching.